pillar back there, the gray pillar? The gray pillar behind the piano. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to invite you to move a little closer if you would. It'll make a part later in the service a little easier, well, where we're distributing the ashes. If you didn't grab a bulletin, please let us know. There were bulletins on the white podium in the back. Mary's bringing a few forward. We're good. So welcome to our Ash Wednesday service. We have a few other folks coming in. Please come forward. I was worried it was feedback, but it was just a plane. Yes, please come as close as you feel comfortable. Just for later, it'll be easier to, yeah. As long as we're close enough to not feel completely scattered in this space. Welcome. So, if you do not know what Ash Wednesday is, it is the beginning of the Lenten season. Lent was traditionally a time of preparation. Often people would join Christian churches at Easter, and so the 40 days of Lent were a time of preparation to join the church, a time of examination of oneself, that eventually morphed into a spiritual practice of fasting, often, and self-examination that has persisted even though many people don't necessarily join a Christian church around Easter all the time anymore. So Lent still persists as just a time to consider the suffering of the world and the limits of humanity and our mortality and what that means as we prepare for Easter time. We're going to be distributing ashes today. Those who are joining us on YouTube, I'm sorry we cannot virtually transmit ashes to you, but know that we are holding you there and we're going to meditate on ashes together. We're going to be using resources from Cole Arthur Riley, who is the author of the Black Liturgies Instagram and a new book of the same title, Black Liturgies, and singing a couple of songs and other things. In person here, I'll explain the distribution of ashes when those happen later. We're going to try to distribute communally and safely, but I'll explain that once we get to that time. So Cole Arthur Riley, in her liturgies, she formats them with sort of 6 movements. She begins with words from ancestors, and then a reading or a letter, often that she writes, something, sort of little homily, but she doesn't call it a homily. She's trying to break some traditional norms. and then a song or a poem, a breath prayer, a time of confession and forgiveness, and then at the end, a benediction and contemplation. We'll be doing distribution of ashes as well in the midst of that because of this particularities of this service. But that's why you'll see those words, ancestors, reading, song, breath, confession, etc., through the service. So we begin with just something that she posted yesterday about Lent and Ash Wednesday to focus our attentions. Lent is a season where we refuse to look away from the suffering of the world, and we contend with all the ways we ourselves contribute to the suffering of the world. We become honest. We confront our own mortality and what tools of death and destruction we've inherited. More than any other year in recent memory, I need the space for collective grief and truth-telling that Lent offers us. So on the screen, the screen will not have all of the words for this service today. Those are in your bulletin, which for those of you on YouTube is found in the description link. But there are focal words that I want to draw our attention to today, and those will be on the screen so that we're able to focus on them. So these are the words from ancestors, as Riley calls it. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. Genesis 3:19b. And, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Maya Angelou.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. When God spoke these words in the garden, did their voice crack? Did their hands tremble as they then knelt to make clothes that would cover the glory they birthed? These words came to us as shame entered the world, and out of shame, all manner of suffering. They were not a proclamation of punishment, but a reminder of Eve and Adam's finitude. It's a poem of grief and memory. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. There is beauty in our humanity. Peer down in the cool, dark ash. There is death there. Watch the particles lift and sway in the wind. There is yet life. On Ash Wednesday, we are marked on our foreheads with a reminder of our mortality. The same palms we raise up and wave on Palm Sunday each year are made to know the sting of death. We burn them. And the following year, in an ever-curious act, we pick up the ashes and we mark ourselves with them. What does it mean that we don't just talk about the ashes or even reverently observe them, but that we physically smear them across our faces? Perhaps in the marking, we approach solidarity. We remember that the same fate that haunts you haunts me. The same beauty that birthed you lives in me. And that this comes as a mark on the body, I think reminds us that the Lenten journey of self-examination is deeply entwined with the physical world. As we mark ourselves with these ashes, we remind ourselves that no grief is solitary, that what has stricken you is also carried by me. We begin our Lenten journey together, reminding one another that we are those whose flesh grows back. We are those who remain. It is not easy, but we cling to this. God has always been sacred potential in the dust.
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. wonder if my life could really change at all. All this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? Could a garden come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in you. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us.
Inhale, I will carry the ashes. Exhale, God brings rest to the suffering. Inhale, I will carry the ashes. Exhale, God will bring rest to the suffering. Inhale, I will carry the ashes. Exhale, bring rest to the suffering. Inhale, I will carry the ashes. Exhale, God will bring rest to the suffering. Please join me in a confession. Confession is an anti-delusion practice. Saves its utterer far more than the wounded. It is not repair, only its preface. But this does not make its honesty any less necessary. On some topics, some of you don't need a confession. You deserve an apology. And so we invite you to discern when it's appropriate to receive the confession as opposed to offering it. Have you offered an apology? Have you made reparation? Are you becoming more human? Forgive yourself. We come before God to confess. We come not out of fear, but with gratitude. We come not out of shame, but with hope. Because we know the one whom we confess, we know God's great love for us. We know that before the world was made, God knew us and loved us. We know that death, despair, and sin do not have the last word, not in our lives and not in our world. So let us bring our hearts and our lives before God. God of the ashes, today let us hold the tension of the story of our making, born of the dirt, beautifully connected to the earth we walk on, and yet possessing the knowledge of our own mortality, that our common decay cannot be escaped. As we begin Lent, help us to become honest about the ways our societies and selfhoods are marred by injustice, cruelty, neglect, and greed. Help us to see our own role in the denigration of the world. But as we push back around us, we might also admit those secret evils that dwell within us. As we name how we've been complicit in the actions of this world, help us to bear them in solidarity and hope. Amen.
So we are going to share in a distribution of the ashes, and we're going to try to do it communally. Margaret is going back and getting a few extra paper towels. We have a little bowl here with ashes in it. I'll start the process and give ashes to a member of our community. You can, if you would like to receive the ashes, you can either receive them on your forehead, which is one traditional way of doing it, or on the back of your fist. The traditional sign is a sign of a small cross on the hand, just two lines intersecting. If you would not like to receive or not like to give to someone else the ashes, I encourage you to sit with your hands folded and your head down, and just spend some time in silence as we do this. There is no judgment about not giving or not receiving. It just allows us to know that you're not in a place, or you don't come from a tradition, or you don't feel comfortable receiving. No judgment. Just that's how we know. If you would like to receive or give, I encourage you, if you want to receive on your hand instead of your forehead, to put your hand forward as the person next to you comes with the bowl, or to point to your forehead, right? Just good symbols for how we can do this. We should have enough paper towels because it does get a little bit messy. So again, we're going to try to do this communally, where we pass the bowl around from person to person. Those who don't want to receive just sort of sit like this. And then the person who's giving, if you would say the words up here, "You are dust, and to dust you shall return." And as you receive, you can say, "But still like dust I'll rise." Are there any questions? It will be messy. not only in the fact you're getting literal burnt leaves on you, but also in the fact that the procedure might be messy, but that's part of it. Be patient in the messiness as a reminder of the messiness of our lives and the world in which we live. That's part of Ash Wednesday and part of Lent. So again, I'll start. If you don't want to receive, sit like this. If you want to receive in your hand like this, or on your forehead like this. Those giving, say the words up top. Those receiving, the words on the bottom. And we'll do this until all have received and given as you wish. All right. We did think of these things. From Cole Arthur Riley's text, we receive the words, "As we name how we've been complicit in the ashes of this world, help us to bear them in solidarity and hope." We found an alternate text of the hymn, "What Wondrous Love Is This?" That often the hymn bears themes of substitutionary atonement, that Christ came in our stead or bore a heavy curse in our stead. The beauty of this version of this hymn is that instead it sort of carries tones of mutuality, of loving friends gathered around to bear the burden together. And so we're singing this text, this version of the text in light of those themes. Let us sing together. It'll be in your bulletin, not on the screen. What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round, O my soul, friends to me gathered round, O my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end I will sing.
Our benediction today is a poem by Jan Richardson titled "Blessing the Dust." All those days you felt like dust, like dirt, as if all you had to do was turn your face toward the wind and be scattered to the four corners, or be swept away by the smallest breath as insubstantial. Did you not know what the Holy One can do with dust? This is the day we freely say we are scorched. This is the hour we are marked by what has made it through the burning. This is the moment we ask for the blessing that lives within the ancient ashes, that makes its home inside the soil of this sacred earth. So let us be marked not for sorrow, and let us be marked not for shame. Let us be marked not for the false humility or for thinking we are less than we are, but for claiming what God can do within the dust, within the dirt, within the stuff, of which the world is made, and the stars that blaze in our bones, and the galaxy that spirals inside the smudge we bear. I send you also with this contemplation to remember that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. But still, like dust, I'll rise.